Today, we're diving into something we all want more of, personal energy. But we're going to look at it from a completely different angle, through a powerful concept called Man Ki Shakti, or the energy of silence.
So let me ask you a question and be honest. Do you ever get to the end of the day and you're just completely wiped out, but you can't really figure out why? It feels like your energy is just leaking out somewhere, doesn't it? Well, what if that leak isn't where we've been told to look? We often think that to find peace, we need to add something to our lives. More information, more stimulation, more stuff. But that can be like trying to get to a quiet destination by turning up the music and driving faster down the wrong highway. Today, we're going to look at the stories of 4 people who discovered the real secret wasn't about adding anything at all. It was about taking something away. So, let's dive right in with our first story. Meet Pankaj. For him, the energy leak was coming from the world outside, a world he was just letting flood into his mind 24/7. So check this out. Before, Pankaj was literally afraid of silence. To him, it was just this scary, empty void. The very first thing he'd do every single morning, bam, turn on the TV. He'd spend his entire day just drowning in these loud, angry news debates, pouring all his precious mental energy into conflicts that had nothing to do with him. And by the end of the day, you guessed it, he was totally exhausted and his blood pressure was through the roof. But then he made one simple change. He started with just 30 minutes every morning of what he called a digital fast. Instead of wasting his energy on all that outside drama, he started investing it back into himself. The result? Wow. He felt calm all day long. That feeling of being drained just vanished. He'd finally plugged the. And this really gets to the heart of what Pankaj learned. It's so profound, right? He realized that his own mind had this beautiful music playing all along, but he just couldn't hear it over the constant static from the outside world. The moment he turned off the noise, he could finally hear his own inner song. Okay, so that's the outer world. But what if the noise isn't coming from the TV? What if the battle is raging inside your own head? Well, that brings us to our next story, Neha. Neha's struggle was totally internal. She used to fight every single negative thought that popped into her head. She'd argue with them, try to push them down, but all that did was make them stronger. Think of it like this. Her mind was a muddy pond, and by trying to fix it, by fighting the thoughts, she was basically just stirring the bottom with a big stick. The more she struggled, the dirtier and murkier the water became. That constant mental war just left her completely drained. Her big shift came when she decided to do nothing. She just stopped interfering. She became a quiet observer, a witness to her thoughts, letting them float by without getting into a fight. And what happened? Well, just like a pond that's left alone, all that mud, all those negative thoughts, they just naturally settled on their own. And her mind became clear as glass. And that's the key right there. It was a simple 2-step process. It wasn't about finding a better way to fight. It was about realizing the fight itself was the problem. Step 1, stop struggling. Just drop the weapons. And step 2, become a witness. Just watch. That's it. This wasn't some complicated technique. It was a massive shift in perspective, from being a soldier in a war to just being an observer on a hill. This idea just nails it. The mind has this incredible, natural ability to find its own clarity, its own balance. We just have to give it the space and the silence to do its thing. We don't have to force it. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to do nothing at all. All right, let's look at another really common energy leak. This one's about a guy named Mahesh, and his issue wasn't the noise of the now, but the heavy, heavy weight of the past. Mahesh was basically living in a time machine, but it only went backwards. He spent all his energy reopening these old files in his mind, past arguments, bitter memories, things that happened years ago. He thought that by talking about them, by rehashing them, he'd find some relief, but it was doing the exact opposite. It was just draining him, leaving his soul's battery constantly in the red zone. So he decided to do what he called a personal energy audit. He pinpointed these pointless conversations about the past as the main leak, and he just stopped them. He decided to make silence his personal charging station. And what's amazing is once he started conserving that energy, his body actually started to heal itself. This is such a critical idea to grasp. So many of us see silence and we think emptiness or nothing. But Mahesh's story shows us it's the complete opposite. Silence isn't a void. It's a source of immense power. It's like a supercharger for your soul, where you can plug in and restore yourself. Okay, our final story is about Mohan, and his experience is just an incredible testament to how our focus and even the words we use can literally shape our physical reality.
So Mohan's entire life revolved around one single topic, his health problems. He was constantly talking about his illnesses, his symptoms, his medicines. But here's the crazy part. The more he focused on the disease, the weaker he actually felt. The story uses this brilliant analogy of a road trip. Imagine he wanted to get to Mumbai, which represents well-being. But all his focus and all his conversations had put him on the highway heading south to Satara, the destination of illness. To get to Mumbai, he couldn't just drive faster on the wrong road, right? He had to completely change highways. And that's exactly what he did. He made an immediate shift. He just stopped all discussion about his illnesses. Instead, he became a student of silence, investing that same energy into wisdom. And by changing the path, he literally changed his destination. His blood pressure and stress began to normalize, all without any extra medication.
And that brings us to this final, powerful lesson. Our words create our world. Our attention is the car, and our words are the steering wheel. If you want to end up somewhere different in life, you have to have the courage to get off the wrong road.
So, wow, we've just walked through 4 incredible transformations, and they're all rooted in this simple, profound power of silence. The real question now isn't about them anymore. It's about you.
Let's just quickly recap these actionable steps. You can stop the outer noise, just like Pankaj did with his digital fast. You can stop the inner war, like Neha, and just become a witness. You can stop those draining discussions about the past, like Mahesh did. Or you can stop focusing on the wrong things, like Mohan. Every single one of these is a ways to plug a major energy leak.
And that really brings us to the final question for you to take away. Look, you don't have to do all of this at once. That's not the point. Just think about your own life, your own energy. Where's your leak? Which one of these stories really hit home for you? What is the one thing, just one thing, you can choose to stop doing, starting today, to get that energy back and finally hear your own inner music?